Day 59 of our journey through the Bible, and we come to this place today and we sort of shake our heads in sorrow and wonder really at the first 15 chapters of Judges. You notice the outline, and I think if I was to call a good phrase to describe this period of Israel's history is the Dark Ages. It records seven cycles on Israel's part where they fall away from God, their apostasy. There are 7 enslavements, then 7 heathen nations that are part of that enslavement, and then they are delivered 7 times. Often this is pictured as a wheel. I can't think of a better way to do it, so we'll use that. And then just notice that it goes round and around and around. You may want to look at chapter 2 and see the first go-around here. Mark the verses and mark them, label them perhaps so that you can see that pattern. The first spoke in the wheel is everything's all right between Israel and Yahweh. They have a fellowship with Him. At the beginning of each of these sections, it says they sacrifice to the Lord. Now, the second thing we're told is that the sons of Israel end up doing evil in the sight of the Lord and serve the Baals. Now, that may not seem like a real serious thing to you that they particularly serve the Baals. It's only because you don't know about Baals and the Baal worship. This was a pagan religion. It had been practiced for centuries. Its effects are probably still very much alive in the world today. It was a religious rite that included all kinds of things, including rites of sexual intercourse, the worship of the reproductive organs of both the male and the female. They sacrificed newborn infants. They murdered beautiful young girls, and also homosexual and lesbian practices were very much a part of this. And then there are other things that are even too evil to discuss, as though I haven't crossed that line already. Think of the book of Leviticus and how worship is practiced there, the beauty and the holiness of it, and then compare that to the filth that's also done in the name of religion, but it's a religion called Baal. You kind of think, how could this happen to the people of God? I mean, the first generation of Israelites were so unbelieving and so dense and so evil that they ended up all dying in the wilderness, but that was so that the children that came from them could learn their lessons. Well, how could they so quickly fall into all of this? Well, first of all, do remember that this covers a period of 400 years. The history of the United States is 250 years or less now, and so we're talking about a long period. But there is a progression, and it does happen quicker than often we think. There can be a generation of people who love the Lord, but they slip up just a little bit. And when parents slip up a little bit, the tendency is their children will lose a whole lot of confidence in God. And in fact, it really takes just about 2 or 3 generations for a people of faith to go to being a people that their family tree is sprouting almost nothing but pagans. The third spoke of this wheel that we're talking about here in Judges is in chapter 2, verse 14. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel. He gave them into the hands of their enemies around them. God always lets the consequences of sin come home in full force. It's actually for their good. Judges 2:15, the Israelites are severely distressed. And then the next spoke comes. It is the fifth spoke. It's in verse 16. Then the Lord raised up judges and delivered them from the hands of those who plundered them. And so the wheel turns and turns 7 times. It always begins with their worshiping Yahweh. They turn to Baal worship. They face God's wrath. They're conquered by pagan tribes. They call out to the Lord. The Lord raises up a judge, a wonderful leader who delivers them. And then they seem like they do it all over again, as though they just couldn't learn. This is an example that is meant to help us. You know, I remember hearing and understanding something of this in the book of Judges, even as a boy, and thinking, what people could be so foolish to turn from a God who's been so good to them? And now, here in my senior adulthood, I look at what's happened in my own nation and how far we have turned from a God who's been so good to us. And yeah, I see it. I see how it happens. Fear it may be happening again. Judges chapter 13, verse 15. Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, "Please let us detain you and prepare a young goat for you." And the angel of the Lord said to Manoah, "If you detain me, I will not eat of your food. But if you prepare a burnt offering, then offer it to the Lord." For Manoah did not know that he was the angel of the Lord. And Manoah said to the angel of the Lord, "What is your name, so that when your words come true, we may honor you?" And the angel of the Lord said to him, "Why do you ask my name, seeing it is wonderful?" So Manoah took the young goat, the the grain offering and offered it on the rock to the Lord, to the one who works wonders. And when Noah and his wife were watching, and when the flame went up toward heaven from the altar, the angel of the Lord went up in the flame of the altar. Now Manoah and his wife were watching, and they fell on their faces to the ground.